Hello, Terry.
Eh?
Hey, are you messing about with that AI again?
Wait, all the time.
I don't know what you like, man, Terry. AI in me. It looks like Fury, that, doesn't it? Have a look.
Told you, man. It's getting better.
Joshua, who's the other guy next to Fury?
Man, I don't know, man. It's just characters, but they're there. That's them coming for you, Porky.
What's this show?
Yeah, mate. Sorry, I'm late. My battery died. Like, went
Problem.
to log in and it just went.
I had a bit
Like,
of an accident, like I put washing machine tablets in dishwasher, so it's dishwasher's grown a giant foam thing here. My eyes are gone, aren't they? My blinds are back. Uh, right, Terry, there's a lot going on in boxing, and we need to give our opinion on it. So we'll do three, see if we can stretch it to three 25, 30 minutes. Uh, Straight in with Eubank and Benn, obviously, the egg situation. What do you make of it all now? It's all died down, and this £1 million bet and fine and all this.
they've tried everything, haven't they, mate? They've tried everything to make the public want and love this fight, and it's not working.
No.
And you can see they're getting worried now because remember they were telling us what did Hearn say? 130,000 people in the queue for tickets, right?
220, Frank Smith said.
I mean,
220, Frank Smith said.
it's not sold out yet, is it?
No, no, it's the 38,000 apparently. But a lot of them buying them are doing it to put on eBay, aren't they, and stuff like that.
Well, a lot of people are going to be selling them for a fiver come fight night.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: when Eubank and Benn fought, you didn't have BoxRec, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have the internet the way you do now. So when they told us these were the two best in the world, 90% of people had no way to verify that, so they believed it, right?
Yeah.
We know that these are two kids from privilege fighting, and they're fighting to make a few quid. There's no real animosity between these guys because they can't be. One grew up in the UK, one grew up in Spain and Australia. Like, what beef can they possibly have? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the public is seeing right through it. And you can't go from Fury Usyk twice, Beterbiev Bivol twice to this. The public just aren't going to swallow it, and boxing fans definitely ain't going to swallow it.
Do you feel that they've they've overdone it with the drama? Because we only tend to get drama on pay-per-view build-ups, don't we? All these table throwing and spitting and slapping and rolling around and having them stood in front of plastic partitions and stuff like that. We only get that on pay-per-views. Do you feel that they've overdone it and they're trying to force it on the public that much that people are like, no, he's failed two drug tests? Do you think that? And obviously, Piers Morgan went into bat for him, didn't he, as well, Ben?
I don't know if he went into bat for him. I'll say this: he got out of Conor Benn what the public wanted to hear, where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, the clomiphene was in me, you know. So I feel for Eubank because I think Eubank's played this brilliantly, by the way, and it's a shame that he doesn't get the reward of a sold out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah.
He deserves that. This fight doesn't though, and I think this is going to be more a reflection of Junior's drawing power because we know that Chris Eubank has sold out venues before, right? Sold out against Groves. I'm sure he sold out against De Gale. But you give him a dance partner like Conor Benn, who the public don't believe is any good, by the way, and this is what you get.
What about the £1 million bet?
That'll never happen.
Bit like Fury's bet with Piers Morgan that never got paid.
But we attach too much importance to this. Like, why would we expect someone to pay £1 million over a boxing bout? I mean, we shouldn't expect that. That drifts into the realms of being stupid, doesn't it? Like, why would you deprive your family of money for the sake of your ego? That doesn't make sense to me.
What about the fine? I mean, in 100 grand and Gareth A. Davis, aka Gary Glitter the Gad, came out and said on his title of his video, 150, he spoke to Robert Smith. Whether it's 100, I've seen 125, it says on Boxing Scene. Uh, I think Paulie Malignaggi's website said 125 they did. And Gad saying 150. So whether it's 100 or 125 or 150, do you feel that's excessive for a Raw? Because supposed to be tough men, aren't they? And do you feel that if they have had that money or they've got that money to come, they should put that to good use?
No, don't think what good use? No, they shouldn't do anything with it. Um,
They're going to do it then.
um, well, no, pay their rent. Um, I'm not into this. Help this nah, help people for what? Nah, I have no sympathy. So I'd rather, if you're going to take 100 grand of Eubank Junior, pay your rent so that you don't have to borrow off a promoter ever again. Is what I would say.
Yeah. How do you see the fight panning out, Terry? And do you see it happening if they don't sell out?
I've been thinking for a while there'll be a hand injury.
Yeah.
Middle of April there'll be a hand injury.
Well, it's 94 or is it 95 times out of 100? The injuries that do occur are hand injuries anyway, aren't they? So that's what,
Hand injury, back injury,
yeah.
hamstring.
Mm. Okay. Uh, English. Is he going to have a role to play? Juggies Oliver said he wants him to ride into White Hart Lane on his Harley Davidson. You know, like the Black Widows. We're the Black Widows. We're feared throughout the land. You remember him in that Clint Eastwood film?
Yeah, that's a 50-year-old man. Like, why would he want that? Like,
60 in it nearly.
no, no, no. What, Spencer Oliver?
Oh, sorry, Spencer Oliver. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what. Sorry, yeah, I thought you were about Eubank. Yeah, yeah, that's what he said. He wants Eubank to ride into White Hart Lane on Talksport on an Harley Davidson. That's getting a bit like
Is that wrestling?
WWE.
Yeah. I'm like, I'd like Eubank Senior to be involved, but he shouldn't be a gimmick. He should be an integral part of this. But remember, I told you my conspiracy theory. I don't believe Eubank and Benn Senior hate each other. I reckon they've been cool for a long time. They just bring out the tension when they need a few quid. You know, they argue publicly, it kicks off, they do another tour together, make some more money. That's what I think. I don't think they dislike each other. Um, I've always thought they've been cool for a long time. Probably even cool when they were fighting. Um, in terms of like what Senior should do, Senior's smart, right? Because even in his absence, he's becoming one of the most important people in this fight. He's the third most important person in this fight after the two people jumping in the ring. So he doesn't have to do anything.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, the weight situation. I've been a big critic of this. Eddie Hills, the Iceman from Billy Ricky, keeps saying 7-0, 5 hour way over course. He keeps saying that a welterweight stepping up against a guy who's won an IBO super middleweight title. But for 5.5 years now, Junior's been fighting at middle. And Crusher Benn's been a light middle for 3 years. So it's not a welter against a super middle, is it?
Well, okay, 3 years ago, he was preparing to fight Junior at 157,
Yeah.
right? So he hasn't boxed at welterweight since 2000 and
22 April.
yeah, is it?
April 2022, yeah, that was his last fight at welterweight. He's had
Yes,
two
that's what
fights
touching
since
3 years
then.
now, right?
And they've been at 154, pardon?
So that's touching three. That's touching 3 years.
It's three
So
year and a couple of weeks, isn't it, when they get at it?
yeah, exactly. So
He's
this
over
idea that
3 years a light middle now, and he's now fighting at middle. So when Tommy Earns and Leonard and them and Duran was stepping up, you never had Bob Arum and Don King stood in middle at press conferences squealing about how brave they were and all that, did you?
nah, but they didn't have the internet back then. They would have done if they could.
You think?
Um, yeah, I think sometimes we mythologize the previous generation. They just didn't have what we have now, which is the attention economy. If they had done, they'd have all been on it. Like, look at what happens when Bob Arum gets in front of a camera. All sorts of crazy stuff comes out of his mouth. So it wouldn't surprise me if they'd been like that back then. Mate, I just think they talk out of both sides of their mouth, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, Hearn will tell you, um, look how brave Conor Benn is stepping up from 147 to fight a career middleweight and super middleweight. And then when you talk about, well, is that really safe? Then he goes, well, Connor's fought at 154. He's kind of been up there for a long time. he just talks out both sides of his mouth, doesn't he?
I think it's talking and over talking because they're saturated by camera jockeys, aren't they? Asking them questions, and they get wrapped up in themselves. We're doing these interviews that I was looking the other day. You know, Eddie's doing like 22 and 23 interviews a day. You know, between 5 minutes and 40 minutes. You know, it's just saturating, isn't it?
Yeah, but he does that so that when you search anything boxing related, his stuff comes up.
Mm.
So he controls the opinion, he controls the debate and the discussion. He's not stupid.
Mm. Yeah. You know these ticket prices, right, Terry? £3,200, some of them, and is it on 262 or something plus booking fees? Where do they think people are going to get the money from for these tickets anyway?
Mate, you see, all of their models are built on a time when Britain had disposable income. Mate, I don't care what social class you come from right now. You're looking around going, where am I going to get some extra money to do some stuff? Right? Um, you go to the local Aldi and Lidl near me, mate. You're seeing Porsche Cayennes now. You're seeing the Range Rover Sports. Like people don't have the disposable income they used to have. So,
They're not at Waitrose then.
uh,
They're not going to Waitrose no more, those Porsche owners.
um, for the bits that the public will see, like the bits they need to show off in the house, maybe like their olive oil. But for stuff like shower gel, nah, not at all, mate. They're going to Lidl and Aldi and Poundland and all those sorts of things because mortgage rates of 4.5% are hurting people. Putting VAT on school fees is hurting people. I know people go, yeah, but they're nice problems to have. But you got to remember, there are families that may live in nice houses, but once they've paid their bills, they don't have that money to live that lifestyle. And people say, oh, they should downsize. But well, why should they? We shouldn't tell people how to live. And so now think about this, Russ. You've got four guys from Donny that love boxing. For those guys to get down to London to watch the boxing, yeah, because ideally you're going to come down on the Friday, right? So you get settled and you can do whatever. So that's 2 nights you got to spend in London, and that's probably going to cost everyone about 150 to 200 quid each, minimum, right? Could go up from there. And then you got to have a few
100 quid
beers.
per train.
Yeah. By the time you've done it, you're probably 500-600 quid down at the cheapest. No one's got that anymore, Russ. Especially you got a family and kids and stuff. You don't have that money to be faffing around at the boxing.
Yeah.
And this is what's accelerating this whole boxing recession you and I have been talking about for a while. Is that people don't have the money they used to have.
Yeah, it's true. It's a damned indictment of society, and this prime minister we've got that's about as much use as a chocolate fire guard, isn't he? Really?
No, it's not. It's not his fault, Russ. The real problem in this
Opposite.
country, and the reason prices are so high in this country, is every place you go to buy something is owned by some kind of private equity organization, or they've got shares in it. And so all of these organizations are debt ridden. Um, those who know me well know I talk about Asda and Morrison's a lot because you will see it happen with Asda and Morrison's. They pay so much in debt, Russ, they can't cut prices. So they can't even compete with other supermarkets on price because they have to pay back these loans and they're refinancing at 4%, 5%, instead of the 1.5%, 2% which they bought the company with. Do you see what I mean? So all of a sudden their debt payments have doubled. Their rents have gone up because they sell and lease back their own properties. At the same time, we're not in the EU anymore, so cost of goods has gone up. We don't grow much here ourselves, so we can't even bring that cost down. We're being killed because we allowed Britain to be for sale. And I know there'll be a lot of people listening to this that go, yeah, but what about the people coming over on the boats? They're the least of your problems. If we were going to vote for somebody, we'd vote for someone who stopped all this private equity investment in companies. Stop loading businesses up with debt. Stop loading football clubs with debt. Stop loading rugby clubs with debt. Stop using debt to grow businesses that don't make any sense. Asda was profitable before these private equity bots got involved. So was Morrison's. They were profitable. They weren't the most efficient, but they were profitable and they were price competitive. We need to get back to that.
Yeah, yeah, we do, mate. We do. Uh, Joseph Parker, Caballel, Anthony Joshua, Super Bean, Juggies, Oliver, Simon Jordan. Throw it all in mix with Usyk's name in there as well. What a mess.
Man, that's a lot of names to put in there.
Okay, then. Well, I'll just come straight out with it, shall I? Why is Juggies Oliver and Adam Smith, Super Bean, coming out saying Anthony Joshua deserves the Parker fight for the vacant belt because of his name value and commercial value? How can that be right?
Boxing needs Joshua. I think we're realizing that now. Yeah. I think you just treat Joshua differently as a heavyweight because boxing needs him. How he's still the most relevant heavyweight after the run he's had is beyond me, but he is. And it's like, I don't know if you remember in the 80s when the WWF, as it was then, had Hulk Hogan. And everybody wanted to work with Hulk Hogan. He wasn't the greatest technician, he wasn't the best wrestler, but you made money with Hogan. And so when Ultimate Warrior was champ, people didn't want to work with him because they're like, he's not drawing money like that. So they had to bring Hulk Hogan back. And
Angle what best wrestler, wasn't he?
in terms of in ring, I think they've been better.
Well,
I'd put
Luke
Shawn
Hogan
Michaels above
says in
him.
his book he could never figure him out. He was just way too good.
No, no, no. But he remember he's an Olympic wrestler, right? So in terms of that, he's
So were
probably
Andre Ward, wasn't
well, he's an Olympic boxer, Porky.
he?
But he did beat your hero, who's
Hey,
turning into
Andre Ward was a champion wrestler in high school, if you Google him.
okay, But you were as well. You're a champion judoka.
I was the conker king at school, kid, and marbles. Uh, uh, no, I just feel that Simon Jordan, I agreed with him for once, and he said, "Well, how does Anthony Joshua deserve a shot at Parker? The first one was a stinker, and he's coming off the back of a shallacking against Dubois. So how is Anthony Joshua even in the mix for a world title fight? And does that mean that the WBO are going against their own rules? Because you've got to come back with a win, haven't you, after you've lost a world title to get on
But,
there?"
yeah, but can you imagine Joshua jumping on a show in York Hall to fight Phil Williams in a 4-rounder to get that
No,
win?
I can't. I can't. See, that's the problem we've got, you see, right? They can't get him a quick win like in Spain, like they did Liam Smith. So they're going to have to break their own rules, aren't they? And this
Do you know
proves
what though? Wouldn't
what
you
corrupt
love
sport it is, doesn't it?
Mate, wouldn't you love that? If Joshua just showed up on an Errol Johnson show in like
In
Reading,
Birmingham.
yeah, and just fought Chris Healy in a 4-rounder.
Yeah, I love it. No, I just feel that they're not really doing anything with him. It's like they're waiting for Fury, and Fury's just out with Wayne Rooney on the Raz. I mean, they just keep getting bigger and bigger, him and Rooney, don't they? He's palling about with Wayne Rooney. God knows what they're getting up to, but you can imagine. Uh, and Fury's like giving up on it basically because he's been done twice off Usyk. He'll come back eventually because he's greedy. And I think he's just going to leave Joshua to his own devices to hang himself, isn't it? Because once that punch resistance gone there, that's it, isn't it? You know, and to me, I think his punch resistance has gone. You might not agree.
Uh, is it any worse than it's ever been?
Well, now because he's been wrapped in cotton wool now since Vladimir 8 years ago next month. I think he's right in about 2 weeks in it since 8 years since he fought Vladimir. Ever since that night, if he beat him comfortably, they were going to put him in with Wilder. They've wrapped him in cotton wool ever since then for 8 years, but they got found out eventually, didn't he, by Ruiz and Dubois and Usyk twice. But look, he's a shot fighter. He's showing signs of a shot fighter. I've never seen him retreat so much in my life after being jabbed early doors against Dubois. I thought, wow. And he reminded me when Ruiz were putting it on him, he doesn't know what to do. He's uncomfortable when people go after him. He was uncomfortable in the Pulev fight and Povetkin fight, but he managed to get through that, didn't he? Vladimir
So,
as well.
so I just think I said this about the Joshua Ruiz fight at the time. I think that's one of those things where you're like, that's boxing for you, right?
Yeah,
Because he gets dropped in the first,
yeah.
yeah, and you've always got to give someone a couple of rounds to kind of get their bearings back. Fourth round, he came out and he let Dubois have it for a bit, and then he just got smoked with a punch that I believe would have smoked anybody. I think that's the tricky bit, Russ. Is we if it had been like an 8 round hiding and then he'd got stopped, we could have been like, Joshua ain't got it no more.
Mm.
There's still some juice in that lemon, right? I think, and I think against guys like Parker, he can have a good fight. I think against guys like Caballel, he can be competitive. I just think someone like Dubois had his number. I just think, and I think Dubois will always have his number.
Do you feel, Terry, that if Joshua does get the Parker fight, it puts boxing in disrepute for somebody like Caballel, and and the people keep saying, well, Turkey's on board now and Dana White, and they're going to do the right thing. But if Joshua jumps the queue and gets that Parker fight for WBO, it's the wrong thing for the sport, and it really, technically, after everything that everybody's been saying.
No, I'm gonna say I'll tell you why, Russ.
Right.
If if Parker fought Caballel in the UK, no one's going to watch that. Right?
No.
Let's be honest, no one's going to watch that. So all these people that bang the drum and say Caballel deserves his shot at Usyk, I'll believe that if you buy the tickets. Buy the tickets to watch that. You won't. But if Joshua fights Usyk, people will buy the tickets to watch that. So what people say they want online, what people say they want in the comment sections is nonsense because they will not pay for it. And promoters only care about who you will pay for, not who you want to fight.
Mm. In your own personal opinion, on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would you say Joshua is?
Um, so 10 must be really shot. One must be um, George Foreman chin.
Hmm.
Um, 6.5.
So he's halfway there. Could you see him hanging with Usyk again, or would he get stopped?
I can see him hanging with Usyk. I think, remember, the gap's only going to close. Joshua will get more familiar with Usyk. I don't think Usyk can get any better, but Joshua can be more familiar with him. So psychologically, there are no more surprises. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the gap will always close between those two, just because Usyk will get a bit older, but Joshua will still be bigger. So Joshua's advantages will kind of hold through longer than Usyk's advantages.
Hmm. Do you feel that Usyk's not really bothered about losing his belts and that because he's already lost IBF and he looks like WBO is going to be gone? Do you think he cares, or do you think because he had that undisputed for that one night, he proved he's the best and he ain't really bothered what to do with belts? He's classed as the man of the era.
Yeah, he's got nothing to prove. He can retire now.
Why do I feel then that they should try and let him keep all the belts? Then why do I feel that why am I like that?
But okay, no, why should he keep all the belts?
Well, I'd like to think that Usyk should have to, but he wouldn't be able to keep all mandatories happy, would he?
So this is where I'm going to then say, Porky, you say you're pro fighter, right? You're pro fighters making a living.
Yeah,
If someone's holding all the belts hostage, how are these guys going to make a living?
yeah. I see. That's why we've got all these interims and all this with all these other ones, haven't we? Because Usyk's
Yeah,
got all belts.
I think we should just do away with undisputed. We shouldn't think about undisputed anymore ever again. And what Turkey should do is you bring out the Ring Magazine belt when you've got two guys and you're like, these are the two main guys in the division, right? That's it. That's the only time you should bring it out. So Crawford versus Spence, we everyone agreed they were number one and number two. When Inoue fought Fulton, everyone agreed they were number one and number two, right? Put the ring title on the line for those fights. Fury Usyk, number one, number two. Put the ring title on the line for those two.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do you want to go on to part two, Terry?
No worries, mate.
No problem. Cheers, mate. Well, that was Terry on part one. Women loving, men want his bank balance. uh, feel free to like and subscribe and leave a comment and let me know what you think in comment section about what we've just spoke about there in part one. Let's go on to part two. Okie doke. Working on, can do this.